We are just a few days away from Clash in Italy, as I am trying to move my tripod with my feet. There we go. Anyway, let's try that again. We are just a few days away from Clash in Italy, where for the first time ever, a PLE takes place in Italy, and that can only mean one thing: Clash in Italy might just have an impact on the landscape of WWE. Excuse me. Much like WrestleMania did earlier this year. 5 matches have been added to the card, and here's the crazy thing. Every single one of these matches are rematches from the past. And this first one that I will be talking to you guys about is a rematch from WrestleMania, as we will have one of the biggest rematches in WWE history. Obafemi, Brock Lesnar, round 2. Their previous encounter took place at WrestleMania, where in just under 5 minutes, actually in under 5 minutes, Obafemi destroyed Brock Lesnar, forcing him into retirement. However, Brock Lesnar has decided to come out of retirement for this one match. Now, there have been some rumors. There have been some rumors where Brock Lesnar is only going to show up for this one match, and supposedly after that he is done. Now, I don't remember. Excuse me. It has been a little bit, so I want to look. Literally, it was the full, like, it was the whole match. It was like under 5 minutes. Obafemi defeated Brock Lesnar in under 5 minutes, which just that alone was insane. It was insane. So we have ourselves probably one of the most insane and one of the most anticipated rematches of all time. Two guys who are basically polar opposites of one another, right? You have Brock Lesnar, who is a bona fide legend in the business. The guy is a 10-time world champion. He's a former UFC champion. He's a former King of the Ring winner. He's a 2-time Royal Rumble winner, a Money in the Bank winner, and the only person in WWE to have held the Universal Championship 3 times, while having the second longest reign in history of 503 days, which just that alone is historic on its own. Then, of course, you've got Obafemi, a guy who became a 2-time NXT champion. He won the men's breakout tournament. He's a former NXT North American champion with I believe either the third or the second longest reign in history at 263 days or something like that. And he's also won the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge back in 2024, 2 years ago. That right there says a lot about how good Obafemi has been in the few years that he's only been in the few short years that he's been in the business. And think about this: Obafemi on December 13th had an incredible match against Cody Rhodes, where it was champion versus champion, a battle between. It was literally a battle between NXT and the main roster throughout the entire night. Throughout the whole night. Because, again, Cody Rhodes versus Obafemi. Sol Ruka versus Bayley. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Javon Evans and Leon Slater, who at the time was the TNA X Division champion, which congrats to Cedric Alexander on becoming the new X Division champion. So now Leon Slater has tied Austin Aries with the longest reign of 298 days, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible feat for Leon Slater. Nothing to be ashamed of. I think it's time to see the youngest in charge be a part of the NXT roster. Maybe we might see him on Raw reuniting with Javon Evans. Honestly, I would be down for that. And think about this. Think of the guys that Brock Lesnar has defeated throughout his entire career. He's beaten John Cena. He's beaten Goldberg. He's beaten Roman Reigns. He's defeated Triple H. He even also did the unthinkable of breaking The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. 21-1. Because of that moment in time, The Undertaker got into the Hall of Fame with a WrestleMania record of 25-2. He's only had 2 losses throughout his entire career. Brock Lesnar was the first. Roman Reigns was the second. Which is unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. This brings us to this match. This is basically a rematch. This is a rematch that Brock Lesnar, in my eyes, needs to win. Because if he loses a second time, there is no doubt in my mind that Brock Lesnar is going to leave WWE and retire fully. Because this means that Brock Lesnar truly will have done everything in the business. But what happens if he wins? Well, this means that they are both tied at 1 apiece, and we could potentially see the rematch take place at SummerSlam in Minneapolis, which was where Brock Lesnar, according to WWE, is where he resides. That said, that right there would be interesting, but I think this match definitely has to go to Obafemi because ever since he got to the main roster, he has been on a roll. He had such an incredible showing in the men's Royal Rumble match earlier this year. He's had quite a few victories since joining the main roster, having several matches on Raw, having several on SmackDown, and apparently, according to multiple sources, it seems like Obafemi is going to be signed to Monday Night Raw, which we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure because according to WWE.com, supposedly he is a part. He is actually in the free agency slot, which he still is. He's still on the free agency slot. Actually, aside from Obafemi, 7 others have been moved to the free agency section. AJ Lee, Bray Bella, Brock Lesnar, Danhausen, Nikki Bella, Omos, and Paige. However, for Omos, he's actually been working with AAA for pretty much the course of the last year, which this Saturday is Noche de las Grandes, and that one is going to be a hell of a show. A hell of a show with one of the matches being mask versus mask. El Grande Americano versus the original El Grande Americano. definitely going to be interesting to say the very least. But honestly, I think we could be looking at a match where Obafemi really doesn't need to win, but at the same time, it's a win that he needs to have, which I don't know if that makes sense, but what I mean by that is even if he loses, all he's gonna do is get up, dust himself off, and move on to the next challenge going forward. If he wins, that could potentially put him in line for a shot at championship gold down the line, which could potentially be the Intercontinental title, it could be the World Heavyweight title, and because that he's a free agent, we could see him go over to SmackDown, potentially go after the United States title, currently being held by Trick Williams. That would be one hell of a rematch. Or we could see the rematch everybody's been wanting to see. Obafemi versus Cody Rhodes. Think about that. But for Brock Lesnar, this is basically his retirement story. This is his retirement arc where he needs to do whatever it takes to retire as still the number one guy. But in my opinion, I think this match is gonna go to Obafemi solely because Obafemi has ever since WrestleMania, he's established himself as the top guy in WWE. And even bigger star, if you will, than Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes combined. And that's saying a lot, considering that Cody Rhodes is QB1 and Roman Reigns, well, is the OTC. So if I were to make a bold prediction, excuse me, I would say Obafemi. Next up, it is a rematch from this past Saturday from Saturday night's main event, as Becky Lynch will do battle with Sol Ruka once again, but this time over the women's Intercontinental title. Now, obviously, Becky Lynch, ever since regaining the title at WrestleMania from AJ Lee, Becky Lynch has been. She's been a bit abrasive, I guess would be the proper term. And it seems like ever since Sol Ruka had gotten called up to the main roster, it seems like Becky Lynch has been disrespecting NXT, which is kind of ironic because Becky Lynch came up to the main roster from NXT over a decade ago. So what does that say? What does that say? It means that Becky Lynch does not see potential in the current NXT talent. At least that's what some people believe. But obviously, because that Becky Lynch shoved Jessica Carr in the way, forcing Sol Ruka to hit the referee with the Soul Snatcher, Becky Lynch lost the match by DQ, and is now being forced to defend the Intercontinental title against Sol Ruka. Now, obviously, yes, this is Sol's big opportunity to become a champion on the main roster. She's a former NXT Women's North American Champion. She's a former Women's Speed Champion. So she has the tools necessary to win her first title on the main roster. But this is Becky Lynch that we're talking about here. She will do whatever it takes to keep the title on her, and I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think Becky Lynch is going to do whatever it takes, even if it means potentially shoving the referee into Sol Ruka again, like she did on Saturday. But But I think that abrasiveness of Becky Lynch could very may well cost her the title against Soul. But if I were to predict, I would probably say Becky Lynch. I think just because of the fact that she's been in the business longer than Soul. She's won more championships than Soul, and the fact that she's become such a ring general, if you will, that she will do whatever it takes, no matter what the cost is. She will do it 100,000%. But Sol Ruka on the other hand, she's pretty determined. She's determined to win that title from Becky, and it comes down to the question of who is more determined. Is it Sol Ruka or is it Becky Lynch? And in reality, I don't think it's Becky Lynch. Reason being is because Becky is looking past Sol Ruka, and that could very may well cost her. But we will have to wait and see because obviously only time will tell. Next up is Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's title in a rematch from WrestleMania. Now, obviously, at WrestleMania, Rhea Ripley did have Io Sky help her become champion. This time around, Rhea Ripley might not have anybody. After what happened this past Saturday at Saturday Night's main event, it seems that Jade Cargill now has the upper hand going into Clash in Italy this Sunday against the Eradicator, and I think that could potentially be what Jade Cargill needs to retain the title. But think about this. I said it before. I've said this countless times, and I will say it again. Keep in mind this. This is Rhea's first title defense since winning the title at WrestleMania. That means that Rhea Ripley's reign has not completely started. So it comes down to this: is Rhea Ripley's reign going to is her reign going to start after Clash in Italy, or is she going to become a transitional champion? That remains to be seen. And in my opinion, I think Rhea Ripley has now become more dangerous as a champion than she was when she was a tag team champion with Io Sky. But think about this: Rhea's got Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, so we could potentially see Charlotte and Bliss help Rhea retain. But knowing Charlotte Flair, her ego could potentially get in the way, and that's quite the possibility. But honestly, I think Jade Cargill is way in over her head with this one, because she relied on B-Fab and Michin so much at WrestleMania that was what cost her the WWE Women's title. This time around, you relying on B-Fab and Michin again could very may well cost her at Clash in Italy. So my money's gonna be on Mommy. I think Rhea's gonna retain that title in a heartbeat. That brings us to both. Speaking of Cody and Roman, they will be defending their titles in the craziest ways imaginable. Cody Rhodes defends against Gunther, which will be a rematch from Crown Jewel a couple of years ago. And then, of course, Roman Reigns will face Jacob Fatu, defending his world title in the main event, because we found out that Cody versus Gunther will be kicking off the show, and then Roman versus Fatu will be closing the show. So Cody and Gunther, the battle that those two had at Crown Jewel in Riyadh back in 2024 was definitely a match that everybody wanted to see. It was a dream match that no one would have ever thought possible. But this all had to do with the fact that the Crown Jewel Championship was designed to see which world champion was better. Was it the WWE champion or was it the World Heavyweight Champion? It was merely a battle, not for brand supremacy or anything. It was for bragging rights to see, who was indeed the top of the top. And Cody Rhodes proved against Gunther he was that dude. And this time around, things are going to be a little bit different because Cody Rhodes will be in enemy territory as he will be entering Gunther's domain in the UK, Germany areas, and it ain't gonna be pretty. It ain't gonna be pretty because Cody Rhodes could potentially get booed, which is possible. But think about this: Cody Rhodes has only lost 7 times in his career. He's lost to guys the likes of Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, just to name a few. Just to name a few. Ever since returning to WWE in 2022, 4 years ago, he has only lost 7 times in his career. Every other match that he's been a part of, Cody has won. But think about this. When it comes to championship matches, throughout his entire career, from his time in NXT UK up until now, Gunther has only lost 4 times. I think, 3 times in his career? The first was against Ilya Dragunov by submission, and he dropped the NXT UK title to the Mad Dragon. The second was against Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 40, and then 1 year later, last year, he lost to Jey Uso. So obviously, yes, history is on the side of Cody Rhodes, but history is also on the side of Gunther. But then again, so is the home field advantage. The home field advantage is going to be on the side of Gunther, and it's not going to be pretty. So who wins? That's a tough call. That is one match I cannot predict because both of these guys have been at the top of their game for the longest time, and it's gonna come down to who will make the first mistake. And I don't think they're gonna be making any mistakes, and we could be looking at an instant classic. So this is one that I cannot predict. However, the main event, pretty obvious. My prediction: Roman Reigns. Why? 2 reasons. Number 1 is his entrance music. At WrestleMania, he brought back his old music from when he was the Universal Champion, for when he was the WWE Champion. Sorry, for 1,316 days. That means that if he were to retain his title this Sunday, he would have to hold on to the title for 1,317 days in order to break his own record, which, honestly, that would be insane. However, there is a second reason why I believe Roman Reigns is going to win. And the answer is simple. Tribal Combat is his domain. The first tribal combat match that we had in WWE was at SummerSlam in 2023, where he defeated his own cousin Jey Uso to retain the WWE title. At that time, this came about when the Usos lost the tag team titles to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the main event of night 2. Roman Reigns got so bitter by that he decided that he and Solo were gonna challenge for the tag team titles, and this ultimately led to Jimmy Uso attacking Roman, which then led to what was known as the Bloodline Civil War at Money in the Bank in London, England, which then obviously led to SummerSlam less than a month later. The second tribal combat match took place on the Netflix premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, where Roman Reigns had to regain the Ula Fala for the right to be called the OTC. And since then, ever since both those matches, we haven't had a tribal combat match since. And because that Roman Reigns has won both those matches, I don't think Jacob Fatu is gonna have any chance of defeating Roman Reigns to win the World Heavyweight title. But then again, Jacob Fatu has become unhinged as of late, and because that there are no rules in tribal combat, I think Jacob Fatu is gonna be having the time of his life, beating down Roman Reigns with everything, and this one is not going to be pretty. But my money will still be on the OTC. And with that being said, that will do it for today's video. If you guys have your own predictions for Clash in Italy, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious of what you guys have to say. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more premium live event predictions and results in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.